So imagine this. You're running a business, right?
Okay, I'm with you.
And you decide to make a change that increases your production costs by exactly 68%.
That is a massive jump. Most CEOs would panic at a 68% cost increase.
Right. They'd completely freak out. But here is the kicker. You don't buy a huge new factory. You don't fire your staff and bring in robots.
So what are you spending the money on?
You literally just focus entirely on the physical product, making it better. And in return for that 68% hit to your expenses, your global market share doesn't just inch up. The actual perceived value of your product multiplies by up to 7 times.
7 times?
Yeah, up to 700%. Welcome to our deep dive, everyone. Today, we are tearing down everything you've probably been taught about how the global economy actually makes money.
It really is a complete slap in the face to conventional business wisdom, isn't it?
Oh, totally. I mean, we are trained literally from day one in any business class that global trade is this ruthless race to the bottom.
Right, the whole narrative is just efficiency, efficiency, efficiency.
Exactly. Like, build the assembly line faster, find the cheapest labor on the planet, run your machines 24/7.
The assumption is that whoever makes the most widgets for the lowest possible cost is the one who conquers the world.
But if you actually look at the data, like really look at it, that's a lie. It's just flat out wrong.
It is. And the paper we are looking at today proves it using a really surprisingly fun industry.
Yes. Today's source material is a landmark paper from the Review of Economic Studies. It's by these 3 economists, Matthew Crozet, Keith Head, and Thierry Meyer. And they expose this massive hidden logic of global wealth distribution.
And they don't do it by looking at, car manufacturing or semiconductor chips.
Nope. They look at French champagne.
Which sounds kind of ridiculous at
It
first.
sounds like a total punchline. Like, really?
Yeah.
We're going to use luxury wine to explain global macroeconomics.
But mathematically, it is the perfect microscope. It isolates variables that are just impossibly tangled in almost every other industry.
So let's unpack this. We're going to strip away all the academic jargon today and just look at the brutal, unvarnished truth of market survival.
Because the reality is, the rules you think are running the world, they're missing a massive, invisible variable.
Let's start with that map concept. If you picture a world map and you put a red dot everywhere, people are working the longest, hardest hours, like absolute sweatshop conditions.
You see massive clusters in the developing world, places churning out incredible volume.
Right. But then if you put a giant gold circle on the regions hoarding all the actual wealth and profit, those circles don't line up with the red dots.
Not at all.
You've got these, seemingly lazy little European towns that basically act like giant global vacuum cleaners for cash, and they are not running their assembly lines faster than anyone else.
Which brings us back to the old narrative we have to dismantle. Before this paper, the gold standard for understanding global trade was something called the Milits model.
Right, from the early 2000s.
Yeah, 2003. It's named after Mark Milits. And it basically shifted the focus from looking at whole countries to looking at individual firms.
And the core assumption there was productivity, right?
Exactly. It said that exporting is expensive. You have to learn foreign laws, set up distribution, do marketing. So only the most hyper-efficient, highly productive companies can afford to play the global game.
Meaning the ones who make things the cheapest survive, and the slow ones die.
That was the gospel. And for, basic stuff like copper wire or construction screws, that actually holds up.
Sure, because a screw is a screw.
Right. But when you apply that to things people actually desire, cars, fashion, software, wine, the model kind of falls apart. Because economists were just assuming that if a company was dominating, it must be because they were technically more efficient.
Wait, really? They just assumed the winner was the fastest runner.
They did. Because efficiency is a cost shifter. It lowers the floor so you can drop your prices.
Yeah.
But they were ignoring the demand shifter. Quality. A demand shifter doesn't make it cheaper to make. It just makes people actively, desperately want it more.
But wait, isn't Business 101 just about lowering overhead? I mean, if I'm running a factory, you're telling me speed isn't my best weapon?
It's a weapon, sure, but it's not the ultimate weapon. The problem was economists couldn't prove it mathematically because quality is so subjective.
Yeah, how do you even measure that? I mean, if a BMW costs way more than a Honda, people just say, well, the price tag proved it's better.
But price is a terrible metric. It's so contaminated.
Contaminated how?
Well, a high price doesn't mean high quality. It could just mean a multi-million-dollar marketing campaign tricked people. Or it could be tariffs or supply chain issues.
Oh, right. People pay wild premiums just for a brand name, even if the actual thing is garbage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the researchers needed a way to measure pure intrinsic quality, completely divorced from the price tag, the marketing, all of it.
Which brings us to the secret code. This is my favorite part of the methodology. It's so clever.
It really is brilliant.
They basically smash two totally different worlds together. World one is this absolute tastemaker, Richard Juhlin.
The Swedish champagne expert.
Yeah, the guy is a legend. He wrote this massive guide where he blind tasted something like 6,500 different champagnes.
And the blind tasting is the crucial part here.
Right. Explain why that matters so much to the math.
Because when it's blind, all the marketing noise is gone. You don't know if you're holding a bottle from a massive luxury conglomerate or some tiny unknown family farm. You don't see the price.
You just taste the liquid.
Exactly. It's the physical reality of the product laid completely bare. And he ruthlessly ranks them on a scale of 1 to 5 stars.
1 star being, basically passable grape juice, and 5 stars being sensory perfection.
Right. So now they have this ledger of pure objective quality.
But they need to see how that quality actually performs in the real cutthroat world. So they grab World 2, cold, hard French customs data from 2005.
And this wasn't just a survey. This was the actual legal export declarations for over 1,000 individual exporters.
Shipping to 157 different countries. They literally tracked exactly where every single bottle went and for how much.
And then they collided the two data sets. They mapped the subjective star ratings directly onto the legal entities in the customs database.
They found matches for 284 specific firms, which doesn't sound like a ton, but those firms controlled, what, 94% of all French champagne exports?
94%, yeah. They essentially captured the entire meaningful global ecosystem.
And for you listening, this is where you need to lean in. Because this isn't about wine anymore. This is a surgical dissection of how quality translates directly into absolute global dominance. It's literally the ultimate business case study hidden inside a wine glass.
It really is. But when they first looked at the data, they actually found something that looked like a total contradiction.
The spreadsheet anomaly? I love this because it is such a trap.
It is the ultimate trap for business owners. When you look at the raw data of who is exporting where, you will see a bunch of really terribly rated one-star companies successfully selling in incredibly tough competitive markets like Tokyo or New York.
Right, so if I'm a cynical CEO, I look at that and go, see? Quality's a joke. These guys make absolute swill, and they are making millions in Japan, so why should we try so hard?
Average is good enough. That's the takeaway people get. But it's a fatal statistical delusion called survivorship bias.
Ooh, survivorship bias. Let's explain this with that classic World War II bomber analogy because it's just too perfect.
Oh, the Abraham Wald story. It's the best way to understand this.
Right, so the military is looking at their bomber planes coming back from missions covered in bullet holes.
And they see all these holes on the wings and the tail. So they say, hey, we need to put more armor on the wings and the tail. That's where they're getting hit.
But Wald, this mathematician, steps in and basically says, you guys are idiots.
Huh. Well, he said it more politely, but yes. He pointed out they were only looking at the planes that survived.
Exactly. The planes that got hit and the engines didn't come back. The bullet holes on the returning planes were literally just showing them where a plane could afford to take a hit and still make it home.
So applying that to the champagne data, when you look at a spreadsheet of active, successful exporters, you were only looking at the planes that made it back.
You're just seeing the winners.
Right. You are seeing the one-star firms that actually managed to cross the border. What you are not seeing is the graveyard.
The thousands of identical one-star firms that tried to go global, spent all their money, and completely went bankrupt.
Exactly. But people always ask, well, how did that one mediocre firm survive when the others died? If the product isn't better, what saved them?
Pure dumb luck.
The paper calls it an idiosyncratic demand shock.
Which is such a polite way of saying they just got insanely lucky. Like maybe the export manager went to college with the buyer for a big hotel chain.
Or a minor celebrity was randomly photographed holding their bottle, and it sparked a weird local fad for 3 weeks.
Right. Or a distributor just had an empty shipping container that needed filling by Tuesday and grabbed whatever was closest to the dock.
The danger for anyone listening is that if you build your business strategy on observing these lucky outliers, you're going to fail. Hard.
You cannot institutionalize a fluke.
No, you can't. So the economists knew they had to somehow mathematically strip away the luck to see what was really happening.
And this is the turning point of the whole deep dive, the Tobit model.
Yes, named after James Tobin. It's a statistical tool designed specifically to handle what we call censored data.
Okay, let's keep this out of the academic weeds. Censored data basically means ignoring the zeros, right?
Pretty much. If a company ships 1,000 bottles to Germany, there's a neat little row in the database. But if a company looks at Germany, realizes it's too hard, and ships nothing.
There's no row, it's just blank.
Right, the data is censored at 0. Standard math just averages out the positive numbers. It completely ignores the graveyard. And that artificially inflates how successful low-quality firms look.
Because it deletes all their failures.
Exactly. So the Tobit model fixes this by factoring in the probability that a firm would even attempt to export in the first place. It looks at the whole picture.
It strips away the luck filter, and when they ran the numbers through the Tobit model, the results were mind-blowing.
The impact of quality on export success didn't just go up a little, it exploded by 3.5 times.
3.5 times, that is insane.
It's a canyon. It proves that in the real, unforgiving world, high quality doesn't just let you charge a nice premium. It gives you absolute crushing market dominance.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. A 5-star firm doesn't just sell their bottles for more money. They actually export more total value than a 4-star firm. They completely take over.
Their dominance is absolute. And the paper visualizes this with what might be the most brutal chart I've ever seen in an economic study, Figure 3B.
Oh, the survival function chart. This thing is terrifying if you sell an average product.
It really is. It tracks how far a company can geographically reach. The bottom axis is the number of destination countries, from 1 to over 100.
So let's trace the path of the mediocre guys first, the 1-star ratings.
It looks like a cliff. They start in France, they try to export, and the line just snaps almost immediately. They might hit Belgium or the UK, somewhere close.
Somewhere easy.
Right. But then they just flatline. They die out. They cannot reach the rest of the world.
But then you look at the line for the 5-star firms on that exact same chart.
It stays high and incredibly stable. It just stretches straight across the globe, 50, 80, 100 different countries.
Why, though? What is the physical barrier stopping the cheap guys from crossing the ocean?
It's the toll booth. Every single sovereign country has a fixed cost to enter. We call it EV in the math.
And we aren't just talking about shipping creets, right?
No, shipping is variable. Fixed costs are the heavy upfront burdens. You have to hire foreign lawyers, translate all your marketing, bribe, legally secure local distribution networks.
It's a massive upfront check you have to write, whether you sell 10 bottles or 10,000 bottles.
Exactly. And a mediocre 1-star product just simply cannot generate enough profit margin to cross those borders. The math doesn't work.
Good enough doesn't even get you a seat at the international table. Quality is the only true global passport.
It is the ultimate moat.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate here. I can hear the cynics screaming about this.
The idiot tax argument.
Yes! People love to say, look, luxury is just marketing. A grape is a grape. Rich people are just paying an idiot tax for a fancy label so they can feel special.
It's a very common belief. It feels good to say because it makes us feel smart for buying the cheap stuff. But the data absolutely crushes this myth.
Crushes it. Because the economists actually tracked the physical cost of making this stuff. So let's say I own a 1-star vineyard and I want to upgrade to a globally elite 5-star level. How much more is that going to cost me to produce?
The cynics would say it costs 10 times as much, or it's all just fake marketing budgets.
Yeah.
But the data shows that the marginal cost of production only increases by 68%.
68%. So maybe I hire better pickers, or I age the wine a little longer. I spend 68% more energy.
Right. But here's the jaw-dropping part. For that mere 68% increase in cost, the value that consumers place on the product, the benefit-to-cost ratio, it skyrockets by 200 to 700%.
That is just wild. It's like a video game lever. You spend 68% more energy, but your attack power goes up 700%.
The leverage of true quality is almost terrifying.
It has to be the highest return on investment activity in the entire business world.
It is. Because it proves consumers aren't stupid. They aren't paying an idiot tax. They are experiencing a massive, undeniable leap in utility.
Which brings us to my absolute favorite mathematical equation in this entire paper, the brutal equation of human desire.
Ah, the 12-to-1 rule.
Yes. The researchers calculated the exact breaking point of human satisfaction. They wanted to know the exchange rate between mediocrity and excellence.
They asked the model, how many bottles of one-star champagne do you have to give a consumer to equal the exact same level of happiness they get from a single bottle of five-star champagne?
And the answer is 12.
12.
You have to literally stack 12 bottles of the cheap stuff on a table just to chemically balance the brain's reaction to one bottle of the good stuff.
It shows that in the face of top-tier sensory experience, quantity becomes entirely meaningless.
It's like if I go to a steakhouse and order a beautiful dry-aged ribeye, and the waiter brings out 12 microwaved hot dogs instead and says, hey, it's the same amount of calories.
You'd be furious.
Exactly. The human brain doesn't value volume. It bows to absolute, undeniable quality. So if you're listening to this and you run a business stop trying to offer people 3 mediocre things for the price of one good thing, they don't want it.
Which leads perfectly into the ultimate showdown, the work harder trap.
Yes, because if quality is this powerful, why is every manager on earth obsessed with making their workers go faster?
The economists actually pitted efficiency and quality against each other in the model.
Yeah.
They wanted to see which one actually explains why a firm succeeds globally.
Okay, so the data on this is just a total slap in the face to corporate America.
It really is. They found that quality, all on its own, explains an incredible 36% of the variance in a firm's global success.
Over a third of your success is just make the thing better.
Right. So then they added labor productivity into the model. Basically, how many bottles a single worker can produce in a year. The holy grail of efficiency.
And when they added that in,
The explanation of success only bumped up to 38%.
wait, a 2% gain?
A 2% gain.
That is just sad. We have managers out there burning out their teams, screaming about quotas, bringing in consultants to shave 3 seconds off an assembly line, all for a 2% advantage.
While completely ignoring the 36% advantage of simply making the product undeniable.
Working harder is literally the cheapest, least effective strategy on the board.
It's intellectual laziness. It's much easier to count how many widgets someone made today than it is to grapple with the incredibly difficult, subjective work of achieving 5-star excellence.
Wow, that really reframes things. And it gets even crazier when you look at where the money is actually flowing globally. The wealth vacuum.
Yes, the concept of non-homothetic preferences.
Okay, promise me no academic jargon. Let's translate that.
Basically, it means rich people don't just buy more of the same stuff. They fundamentally change what they buy.
So if I double my income, I don't buy twice as many cheap watches. I buy one Rolex.
Exactly. The researchers mapped this out by destination country. They looked at the data and found this violent tear happens when a country's average income crosses into the top tier.
Back in 2005, that was about $25,000 per capita, right?
Right. As a country crosses that threshold, the demand for one-star wine stays completely flat. They don't want any more of it.
But the demand for the 4- and 5-star stuff...
It explodes vertically. The chart just goes straight up.
So wealthy nations are basically acting as giant vacuums, aggressively hoarding the highest quality products on the planet.
And if you control that 5-star product, you have a direct siphon into the deepest pockets on Earth.
But if you sell the 1-star product, you are permanently locked out of the wealth boom. It doesn't matter how fast your factory runs. Rich people just fundamentally do not want what you are selling.
Which brings us to the invisible fold. Why some markets seem totally impossible to enter.
Oh, the bouncer analogy. I love thinking about markets this way.
Let's lay it out.
Okay, so think of global markets like nightclubs. An easy market close by, no tariffs, same language, is like a club with no cover charge and a really friendly bouncer.
Anyone can get in.
Right. So if you look at the companies inside that easy club, the average quality is pretty normal. You've got some great ones, but tons of mediocre ones just milling around because it was free to enter.
But then you have the hard markets.
Right. A country halfway across the world, massive taxes, brutal regulations. That club has a 7-foot-tall bouncer and a $10,000 cover charge.
Only a tiny handful of companies survive that entry.
And the data shows that in those hard markets, the average quality of the survivors violently spikes to level 5.
It proves that quality is a weapon.
The harder the market, the sharper the blade needs to be to cut through the door.
Exactly. People love to blame the market. Oh, the tariffs are too high, the regulations are unfair. No, your product just isn't good enough to pay the toll.
Which perfectly explains this other weird economic rule they tested, the Alkene-Allen effect.
Or shipping the good apples out.
Yes. This is one of those counterintuitive truths that makes 0 sense until you do the math.
Let's break down the math. Say you have a cheap bottle that costs $10, and a luxury bottle that costs 100.
Okay, so a 10-to-1 ratio locally.
Now, you ship them across the ocean. The shipping company doesn't care about quality. They just charge a flat $10 per bottle for the space.
Okay, $10 flat.
So the cheap bottle lands, and it costs $20. Its price just doubled. 100% increase.
But the luxury bottle, it's 100 plus 10 for shipping.
Yeah.
So $110.
Right. Its price only increased by 10%. So suddenly, to the foreign buyer, the expensive bottle looks like a vastly better deal relative to the cheap one.
Because the distance tax disproportionately punishes the cheap stuff.
Precisely. Now, the paper noted this effect is slightly mixed in the champagne data because of other ad valorem taxes. But the core truth remains absolutely solid. Distance destroys weak products.
The further you want your influence to reach, the higher your baseline quality has to be.
Exactly.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. Let's synthesize this. For decades, we believed in value for money and good enough.
But this data reveals a terrifying, totally polarized world. Winner take all.
We are looking at the death of the middle. The squeeze. Up top, the five-star giants have built these impenetrable global moats. They have massive margins.
And down at the bottom, factories are fighting a death match over pennies, slashing prices just to survive.
And the middle is just a death trap.
If you zoom out to the global level, countries that rely purely on massive, cheap labor forces are on a ticking clock. The global sorting mechanism will eventually crush them.
Because the invisible hand isn't looking for who sweats the most, it's looking for who is the best.
Exactly.
Which brings me to a final, slightly provocative thought I want to leave you with. We've been talking about wine and factories, but think about right now. Think about the era we are living in today.
The AI explosion.
Yes. Technology is making it easier to produce average work faster than ever before. You can literally automate mediocrity with the click of a button. Code, marketing, design, boom, done.
The cost of a one-star output is dropping to zero.
Exactly. But remember the math we just went through? Remember the 12-to-1 rule? Remember the 3.5 times multiplier? If the whole world is suddenly flooding with cheap, fast, one-star automated output, what happens to the value of true, undeniable, human five-star quality?
It won't be replaced.
No. It will become the most valuable, scarce resource on Earth. The future does not belong to the fastest. It belongs to the absolute finest.
That is a powerful thought.
But the only question left is, which one are you building?